Everybody is ablaze right now. Everybody's wondering what is really going on with Angel Reese. Has she just flat out quit again? Has she quit on the Chicago Sky? Angel, you gotta be, hold on, you have to have some level of self-awareness here.
Angel Reese is once again listed as day-to-day, but for anyone who's followed her career, that phrase carries a very different meaning. Just last season, the same designation ended up being a cover for what turned into a season-ending wrist injury. Now, it's being attached to a mysterious back problem. What makes it even stranger is that the Chicago Sky have been finding more success in her absence. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark continues to break records even while she's sidelined, with a very real groin injury, consistently showing up with her team as the Indiana Fever fight to stay in playoff contention. So, the question is fair. Is Reese really hurt? Or are we seeing the most predictable disappearing act in WNBA history? And beyond that, how has she been humiliated after being caught essentially giving up on the Sky? If you believe this is nothing more than another staged PR stunt from Angel Reese, then go ahead and comment "Fire the baby giraffe" down below. Let's talk about it. I'll say this bluntly. I believe Angel Reese has quit on the Chicago Sky. She has been claiming a back injury dating back to the All-Star break, yet there have been no details. Every update says she's day-to-day, but weeks go by with no new information, no specifics about what she's dealing with, and no transparency about her recovery. There's nothing, no clarity whatsoever. From where I'm sitting, it looks like she's abandoned this season. In fact, this situation feels like an even worse version of the saga with Kawhi Leonard. Reese being day-to-day has practically become a script at this point. The same vague reports roll out, the same disappearing act repeats, and the timing always suspiciously lined up with the Sky hitting a rough patch. We've seen this story before. Last season it was her wrist, supposedly a serious fracture, that required surgery, which was portrayed as crucial to prevent arthritis from setting in before she even turned 25. That single announcement ended her season. No attempt at a gradual return, no late push to finish strong. Just done. Let's not forget, she pulled a similar move in Unrivaled. She claimed injury, sat out, and skipped the championship game entirely. She didn't even bother showing up to support her team from the sidelines. The excuse then was her wrist. This year, it's her back. Both times, the result looks the same. She doesn't finish out the season, and the excuses pile up. And all the while, the Sky desperately need her presence on the court. This is a franchise being stepped on by the rest of the league, yet their supposed cornerstone player is nowhere to be found. Angel, where are you? This has reached a ridiculous point. Now, the sequel arrives with a supposed back injury. Again, no clear timeline, no detailed explanation, and conveniently surfacing during another difficult stretch for the Sky. Look at the schedule, it's almost too easy to predict. Losses start piling up. The pressure on Reese grows, and suddenly, she's not in uniform, not even on the bench. It's gotten to the point where you can practically forecast which weeks her day-to-day label will turn into an indefinite absence. At this point, you have to wonder if Reese has completely tapped out. Fans and analysts alike are speculating. What's really going on with this back issue? Some are even asking whether she's faking it to mirror Caitlin Clark's legitimate absence. The strangest part is that Reese didn't even travel with the Sky to Indianapolis for a high-profile matchup against the Fever game, hyped as one of the WNBA's biggest draws this year. For someone who labels herself the it girl of the league, she skipped the hottest rivalry matchup of the season. Yet just a few weeks earlier, she was in Indiana for the All-Star game. All smiles for the cameras, staging a PR stunt where she claimed she'd taken over Caitlin Clark's trap. So, the back can hold up fine for marketing stunts, but not for competing against Clark on the floor? That's a pattern people are starting to recognize. Many now believe she simply doesn't care about basketball and is using her back as a convenient excuse. Here's another angle Reese might have looked at Clark's absence and thought, Caitlin's out with a legitimate injury, I can sit too. Before the All-Star break, Reese went on a hot streak after the first round of voting placed her only 13th in the standings. That panic led to a 10-game push where she worked to pad her stats and justify an all-star selection. She succeeded, but once that was over, the Sky were struggling again, and suddenly her effort disappeared. She may have decided the season was already a lost cause, saying, in effect, peace out. Naturally, people are asking whether this is about protecting her brand image. Is she dodging situations where her weaknesses might be exposed? Is she making sure poor team results don't get tied to her name? Those questions are becoming louder, and the speculation is unflattering. Commentators are bluntly stating that she's quit again. They point out that after the team lost Courtney Vandersloot early in the season and started racking up losses, Reese may have decided she wasn't going to let those defeats get pinned to her resume. Better to claim injury, they say, than to risk being associated with one of the WNBA's worst records. That's 2 years in a row. Now where her injuries have arrived at the exact moments her on-court narrative was weakest. Both times, the injuries conveniently removed her from situations where she would have had to prove herself in adversity. For critics, it looks more like strategy than bad luck. And here's the kicker. When she's not in the lineup, the Sky actually look like a competent team. That's when this story moves from suspicious to downright unbelievable. Last season, Reese effectively bowed out when it was clear she couldn't compete with Clark for Rookie of the Year. Once her double-double streak ended and Clark's surge began post-Olympics, Reese called it a wrist injury and sat out the rest of the year. The same thing happened in unrivaled Chi quit mid-season and didn't even attend the championship game. Now people are noticing a real pattern. The Sky's performance with Reese doesn't match the way the franchise markets her. They promote her as the face of the team, but the win-loss column tells another story. When she's gone, they actually string together better results. This isn't a tiny sample size either. The stretches without her are when they've managed to build chemistry and avoid embarrassing losses. That's a terrible look for a supposed franchise player. You don't have to look further than Chicago's matchup against Indiana without Caitlin Clark. On paper, that game should have been the Fever's most vulnerable moment. Instead, Lexi Hull stepped up, dropped 17 points, posted a +22 rating, and Indiana rolled over Chicago. That same Sky team has failed to beat Indiana in any scenario this season. Even without Clark, Hull, Boston, Mitchell, Cunningham, they all clicked because they trusted the system and the flow of the game. Nobody was forcing awkward shots to protect a brand. This is the simple truth of team basketball. You either elevate those around you or you drag them down. When Reese is out, the ball movement is sharper. The guards run sets and possessions, and with good looks instead of desperate heaves. With her on the floor, too often the game stalls while she demands post touches or crashes the boards out of position. The result is sloppy, predictable offense. Coaches know that in any sport, the #1 ability is availability. If you aren't on the court, you don't bring value. What's happening now is classic addition by subtraction. The Sky play with more energy, more pace, and more rhythm without Reese. Even the bench seems more alive, and the spacing noticeably improves. Analysts have pointed out how the offense opens up without being funneled through her, and even coaches have subtly acknowledged that the urgency increases when the team isn't forced to cater to one player's ego. At some point, the harsh truth becomes undeniable. A real star makes their team harder to beat, not easier. If your absence improves your team, the problem isn't your teammates, it's you. That's why more people are calling this the biggest hoax in WNBA history. Chicago playing better without Reese is something no PR spin can disguise. And when you compare that picture to what's happening in Indiana, the contrast is damning.